a very, very small section of, Gen Zs are those which is very difficult to work with. For many things that we do not want jack of all people. We would want specific people who
Specialists.
come with expertise in that domain. So leaders that way have to be prudent about when to show your vulnerability also.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Leadership Accelerator podcast. And thank you for so much love and the affection you guys have shown us. Thousands of views, many, many messages appreciating the program. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Divyank Jain, who is the co founder of the Wise Idiots, a leading content creation and marketing company based in Mumbai. Divyank is actually a young entrepreneur, straight out of college into entrepreneurship. He's a qualified lawyer, and after around 6 months of internship, he jumped straight away into entrepreneurship. So let's welcome Divyank. Divyank, thank you for joining us today.
Shailesh, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. I appreciate this a lot and looking forward to our conversation.
Great. And very, very predictably, my first question is going to be what really triggered that jump into entrepreneurship at such a young age, right out of college?
Interesting question, of course. I think my life has always been monitored and mentored by a lot of bhaiyas and didis throughout very young. So I was a single child, so no real sibling to guide me. So anyone and everyone around me in the gully or in the apartment and the building. Everyone who was senior to me, I was always with them, learning, being curious, asking questions, fascinated by what adults were doing. So learning from them, observing them. And in this journey, people have always guided me to what to do and what not to do. And one of these conversation was that, hey, don't do jobs because jobs are boring, or jobs have these 100 problems if you want to start. Or, anyone who was probably 4 or 5 years elder to me when I was in college or even in school, there was always this thing that, hey, I want to start something of my own. So taking those cues wherever possible, it was always established that, hey, jobs are bad. Running or doing something of your own is cool. So I should do that without thinking much about it, right? So that's one of the initial cues. And then later again, there were always those people who were telling that, hey, these are the things that you should do. So never thought of it like, hey, I have a business model, so I want to be entrepreneur. It's more about that, hey, I don't have any other thing to do. I just have to do this. So the only thing that I can do with the idiotic brain or wisely idiotic brain I can do is to run a company. So that's, I think, the reason behind being an entrepreneur very soon in the career.
Okay. And the Wise Idiots, the name itself is so unique. What's the story behind?
Yeah, so we have tried a lot of fancy stories to get our customers and to woo our clients. But with full honesty, my partner Deep used to write on Quora and other platforms under a pen name. So pen names were cool for all the writers. Again, it's an anonymous trend. And Wise Idiot was his pen name on Quora. And he was getting a lot of traction. He used to write and under this name, The Wise Idiot, and he used to get a lot of traction in early 2015, 16. So when we had to start our agency, or rather we had to register it, it became an obvious name that, hey, this is something which has already been working. boutique. This
Right.
has all the right things for an agency name to have, so that it starts a conversation. People remember us. It is relatable to what we do. So we just took it, and it became our personality. And a lot of people who joined us felt that they are wise idiots of their own self. So we just kept using it. Became our philosophy in a lot of ways. And I think clients also kind of connect with us because of the name itself.
Interesting. So it's been now 7 years, right, since you started? So
Yeah.
how's the journey shaped your outlook towards, let's say, leadership or entrepreneurship?
I still feel that I'm learning, or rather intoning at the wise idiot most of the time. It's still, you know, a lot of things have to be figured out. So
Hmm.
although it can be called as leadership because there are more people involved, there are a lot more people in the team. We have vendors also working with us. There are interns, so they sometimes call me sir. Then there are Gen Z, so they do not like to call me sir. And then there are a lot of other people who have so many questions. So in some ways, because we are in our seventh, eighth year of business and we have established in some ways, people see us as authoritative figures in content space. But very honestly, it's still my learning curve. I am still in my 1 to 100 journey. So probably the biggest learning there is that there is always that learning, unlearning, and relearning curve. And as a leader, also, I'm just being in learning, unlearning, and relearning curve myself.
So what I'm curious about, Divyank, is, like I said earlier, you straight away out of college setting up an entrepreneurial venture. In the initial days, I'm sure there would have been challenges, right? And did that make you feel, oh, I should have probably done something or worked some ways to get some experience before jumping in? Did that happen with you?
Not just initially, it kept happening till very recently, or it still sometimes happens because as humans, we have a nature to compare, right? There is always a it's very internal that we have jealousy in everyone's self, right? There is always an ego that, hey, someone else is doing something else and I could have done it also, right? Grass is greener on the other side. And
Correct.
there are always lot more opportunities. So very initially, I got a managerial responsibility because I started the company. And then there is the entire journey. There is no designation that we can give to ourselves. We can call ourselves anything, but there is no official designation, right? And
Correct.
initially, that might not be a problem, but 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years down the line, when I see my friends reaching to a certain point at certain businesses, and I could see that, okay, now that designation makes so much sense for them, but I would not get that designation. So sometimes that thought will always come that, hey, if I was not doing this and I was there, I would be getting this, right? So there is
Hmm.
always that continuous question. But at the end of it, and at the same time, the value and the satisfaction that we get from what we are building and how we are doing it, trying to figure out new things, new challenges, solving the problem, getting the right people, working with them both on the client side as well as on the team side, solves that. So wherever there is a upward and downward curve, there is always a question that, hey, if I was doing that, I would be probably earning more. Probably there would be a much more benefits, or monetary benefits, to so to say. Very honestly, first few years of the business, you are figuring out. So money is always a second thing. It's just to
Right.
stay in the game and keep figuring out and keep making things better. So, and while others have started saving, and there is entire financial, personal finance, education boom in India. So now people are
Right.
talking about it, and at the same time, you are still figuring out, hey, should I start thinking about my own personal saving, or should I think about business sustainability? So all those things
Hmm.
are there. It will keep coming back. It started from the very day one that I am taking this call. Deep and I were taking this call. We were not earning, while others that started with us are getting regular salary, and it continued till very recently, or maybe it will continue forever.
Okay. And my curiosity is about, and there are a lot of young entrepreneurs who are watching this show. Uh, what are the kind of typical challenges that a young entrepreneur faces when he sets it up?
Okay, so I can go on. This is an endless list. There are n number
Okay.
of problems. When uh, we start with two or three main problems. One is figuring out what we are good at, and in
Hmm.
my own journey, we started giving lot more services than we could ever imagine. At one point, at the Wise Idiot, which is a content marketing agency, we were giving
Yeah.
230 services, 230,
Wow.
saying yes to everything because we were greedy that, hey, whatever is a possible way to get a client, let's just get it. Let's just say yes and get the client
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then figure out everything. So, in the initial
Right.
phase, that is one thing that a lot of folks say yes to. And that has to be there, that in some ways it's part of starting the journey also. Similarly, having the right people, because you have money constraints, you have um, leadership constraints, you do not know how much you can delegate. You are looking for the right people, especially who can do everything for you, right? So you
Hmm.
want street smart and jack of all people, and not specific folks who want to do a lot of things, hungry to do good work, but at the cheapest remuneration possible. So that's the second
Hmm.
problem that you are facing. So you don't know what services that you can offer or how many you should offer, so you are saying yes.
Correct.
Second, you don't know how big your team is, so you want to hire the right people. Getting the right people is always a problem. And third is about how much you should charge, what is the right pricing for you. And
Hmm.
in lot of businesses today in India, there is no, especially from service point of view, not from product point of view, there is no
Hmm.
benchmark, right? It's
Benchmark.
like
Yeah.
you can charge anything and everything. So then whatever your competition and how big you can think, that's up to you. So for example, uh, I know writers who charge 10 paisa per word, and I also
Hmm.
know writers who charge $100 dollars or even more for even a word, right? So
Wow.
you can see a difference, right? I mean, of course, there is very different experience and expertise and everything, but just think about the difference between someone who is charging 10 paisa and someone who is charging 80,000 rupees for the same kind of work, right? And you are
Hmm. Hmm.
part of this bracket. You have to
Hmm.
establish your name. So having the right pricing for you, what works for you, how does the cost work, how the revenues would work, how the profits would work. In the initial stage, you don't have many people to help you with it. You don't know the compliances bit until unless you come from that background or you have right people to help you. But these are the three initial problems that you start with, and then you elaborate on it. So these problems will be consistent, and then you will add more to it. It will be compliance problem. It will be how the growth works, how the processes and compliances should look like, how the HR should look like, how recruitment should work around, how the finances part should happen,
Right.
how regular accounting and auditing should happen, then how you add more people and how you add mission vision statement. So then you have next 10, 20, 50 things, and then you move to the growth stage, then which is like, hey, I need to replace myself so that I can move out of this and I can do 100 other things. So who should I hire for this role, and how that person will manage. So there can be thousands of problems to start with these three, and then maybe grow with it.
Okay. So what's been more challenging for you? Moving from 1 to 10 or moving from 10 to 100?
I think I am in 10 to 100 state. So I would say that now I feel that 10 to 100 is much more difficult. But very honestly, again, it's a grass is greener on the other side. At one point, we were just praying that, hey, if there is a way that we can just complete these 0 to 1 journey, we would be in a better position, and 1 to 100 we'll solve it because there will be these answers. Now I've realized that
Okay.
okay, when you are in 1 to 100 journey, you are also figuring out 0 to 1 journey again. So uh, it's just the conundrums.
So in terms of navigating those early day problems, okay, where you had challenges related to the services, it has challenges related to people, challenges related to pricing. If you were to go back 7 years from now, what advice would you give yourself?
A lot of advices, but practically, one is that think long term. There will be instances where you have to say no, you have to negotiate, you have to take up work at low price. And I learned this from someone uh, who talks a lot about mythology in business, and I think he quoted it from Devdutt Patnaik, that there is always in business there are two uh, views through which you should see things. So there is a Garuda view and there is a Sarpa view. So Garuda
Mhm.
view is basically seeing from top.
Yeah.
A bird eye view, and then you can see a bigger chunk of land, and you can see what is the roadmap look like. And then there is a snake eye view, which is Sarpa view. Both of them are connected to Vishnu, which in this case is you, who is managing the entire thing. So there is something which is in front of you, and you have to focus on it. While there is a bird eye view where you are seeing a lot more things in the broader perspective. So you have to take those calls. Sometimes, you have to get those initial projects, be it for name, be it for money, be it for other things. And you have to take that call, prudent call, that, hey, I'm doing this for this reason. And at the same time, you have to also take a step back and see a bigger
Mm.
perspective, that is it helping me in the long term or not? It is difficult to do it. Probably having right mentors for that works. So probably look for people who can help you, like-minded people, or people who have done it in the past. But that's how you can actually build credibility and sustain yourself. And second is being patient. I think that works well. Very generic advice, but I'm a Rahul Dravid fan, and I have been a Rahul Dravid fan before he it was cool. And while watching him in Test match, it was always a fear that, I don't know. I mean, he has not scored enough, and he's still on a defensive state. I don't know if how much runs he will
Mm.
be able to score. Every ball is coming, and it's a tough thing. He's scoring like 5 runs in 70 balls, while the other person is at 40s and 50s and 60s. But patiently, throughout the career, he just kept bigger. And after he retired, the real value of Rahul Dravid came in. So that's
Absolutely.
something which I think is also there in our business, that once you pass on all those years and times and work and everything, once you look back, you see, okay, we had done something really well.
Great. So, Divyank, now, how big is Wise Idiots now in terms of people, in terms of partners, freelancers?
Yeah, so we have 20 people team in house. Then there are 45 to 50 consultants and vendors and freelancers who work with us on project basis. So these
Okay.
are internal teams of content marketing managers, writers, graphic
Mm.
designers, and then
Mm.
operations and admin folks. Then there are freelancers and consultants who help us with anything and everything that we need. So from again, writing for specific niches, we write a lot for fintech companies, tech companies, B2B SaaS companies. So people who understand these systems, ecosystems well, we work with them very closely, BFSI as well. Then there are tech people, so website designers, developers, app developers. Then there are people in the graphic side, so design side. So then the UX UI design, graphic design, video, and all those people. And then there are translation experts, video editing
Hmm.
experts, anchors, photographers. So a lot of people who work with us collaborate on regular basis. So yeah, that's
Okay. So you, Divyank, mentioned that in the initial stages, one of the challenges that you had was about people in terms of you wanted to hire someone who could be a jack of all trades, knew everything, could do everything, came in at a lower remuneration so that you were able to kind of balance out the business. How has your philosophy of hiring people changed over the last 7 years? What do you
again,
focus on right now?
yeah, again, it has changed on multiple folds, and also because of the way we have started conducting business, right?
Hmm.
Now, at many levels or for many things that we do not want jack of all people. We would want specific people who
Specialists.
come with expertise in that domain. So when we
Hmm.
started, we wanted people that can also write and design and also manage
Correct.
operation and client facing and everything. Now it is not required. We want designers to design, writers to write, and long form writers to write long form content. Now we are
Hmm.
hiring people specifically to write scripts for people, right? So then a script on YouTube and Instagram would be different than a long form script, right? So it has changed significantly. Copywriters are there, content strategists are there. In the initial days, there was one strategist who also has to do copywriting and who also has to do content writing. So we'll not differentiate between short form content and long form content. It is obvious that if client wants something, then writer has to write, and then if it's an easy design and designer is busy, writer only has to go on Canva and design. Now it does not work that way. Neither our clients would expect that, nor we would provide that as a service. So designers are there, and they would also have a very different tools that they will use only for specific things. So that
Hmm.
has changed quite a lot. I still feel that initially, if I would have taken this route of having specialists, it would have worked, but it would not have worked for us because we were also figuring out. So if we would have an entire space with all these people in the initial few years, I would have not survived. That time, I needed that army of people who were ready to take up anything as a challenge and then do it. Now we are at a stage where people have to take ownership of what is that they do best and deliver it on time and everything else.
Okay. So, in one of our earlier episodes, I was talking to the managing director of a pharma company, and he told me that most of his workforce, or there's barely anyone who is Gen Z in his work, and his challenges are different. Would I be wrong to assume that most of your workforce would be Gen Z?
Yeah, yeah, not most, but a good chunk of people, especially interns who join or people who start our careers, people who start careers with us, they are
Hmm.
Gen Z or borderline Gen Z.
I keep reading a lot of stuff around the challenges of working with Gen Z. What's your view? How do you see it?
Yeah, so it's an interesting time to work with these folks, right? And they are the smartest people
Correct.
because of the education, privileges, uh, clarity in a lot of ways. A lot of people, and Gen Z also. There are very different Gen Zs out there. Of course, Gen Z is a term
Hmm.
for specific years when they are born. But someone who
Correct.
is in a metro or tier one cities comes from a very privileged background and have a very different upbringing. And then someone who is not from that privileged
True.
background, same years, same lifestyle, and everything, consuming
Correct.
the same content. would have a very different mindset towards everything. Their goals would be very different. Their expectations and aspirations would be very different. So,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, we have to put them everyone in the same bracket that all of them are
Correct.
Gen Zs, but that's not true. Uh, a very very small section of Gen Zs are those which is very difficult to work with, and that too
Mm-hmm.
because there is a certain way of working with them. Everyone else who is coming from maybe or less privileged backgrounds are still the same hungry and curious
Mm.
hardworking people as what 10 years or 15 years back others were, right? So that's one very important aspect that we have to understand before
Correct.
getting into the starter of how to decode Gen Zs and how to work with them. Now working with those privileged Gen Zs is itself a question, and most of the people uh, who are working with them are struggling, and that's where a lot of conversation happens that hey,
Correct.
there is a language barrier, there is they understand a very different thing, they talk very differently, their work ethics are very different, but that is because of multiple reasons. Their aspirations are very different, their reason of working is very different. um,
Mm.
they're you know they do not have a very big burden behind them, that they do not have that if they don't do anything there will be a big problem in the family, might not be the case. So they are doing it to
Correct.
prove themselves, right? And they come
Correct.
with lot of learning themselves, so unlearning and relearning is not happening. So they have already
Mm.
gotten lot of information, and they have
Mm.
their egos also in place. Now it is up to the managers and leaders to decide how to use them. Is it
Mm.
important that you use them for their ego and their learnings and everything? Give them that kind of roles and responsibility and let them flourish, or you want to reinvent the wheel for them and change the way they are working, change the mindset and do something else. So that's then up to the organization and leadership and people who
Mm.
are
Mm.
managing them to take a call if that is the right way. But yes, there is a very different approach towards working with that specific um, set of Gen Zs, which
Yeah.
is little difficult, but it has its own pros and cons.
Okay. So when you talk about the style of leadership and managing different types of people, how would you describe your own style, and what kind of culture do you kind of nurture in your organization?
Yeah. So in between Deep and I, we call ourselves one idiotically wise and one wisely idiotic person. Works well
Okay.
with the name the wise idiot as well. And we keep changing the this is like our designation that hey, we are wise and idiotic in our own ways. My
Mhm.
my way of leadership is that I'd like to figure out things with the people. So, and that has been always the journey. I'm in figuring out stage myself. So even today, most of the time, who is working with me, they would be doing a lot of heavy lifting for me because I'm
Okay.
not as smart as they are. So that's my way of working. A lot of times I take up challenges which are very difficult for me. So whoever is working with me has to be all hands on ready that hey, whatever Divyank is getting, we will have to figure it out and deliver because he himself cannot, but he has already said yes. And this has started, as I said, that we
Okay.
started at 230 services at one point because we took that challenge. So in some ways, I
Mm.
have loved that way of figuring out and being spontaneous in some ways. So my leadership style is also that I get people with me. I want to trust them, or rather, I trust them completely with the work that they do. And they have to take ownership of a lot of things. Sometimes they feel that because this person who we are working for cannot do things himself. That's why we have to do it well enough for him to survive and do well. And sometimes it's very obvious that this is the only way we can learn well. So that's something that has worked. We have also created some set principles or guiding principle at the YZ. They have come from, again, coming back to the very basic point that we had mentors throughout. And then there is this book called Rework by Jason Fried. And that's something that we have loved. So worked like a Bible for us. So we have taken some, principles or some ideas from that, and we have created some ideas for how we work. And there are 2 3 simple ideas that, hey, we want to work for Anand, which is happiness. So wherever whatever you are doing, you have to be happy and content with it, and we are doing it because this makes us happy. So anyone and everyone who is coming and working at the YZ has that clarity that, hey, I love this, I love writing, I love designing, I love content, and this is something that I really really want to do, right? And there is someone out there who would need us to communicate their idea better or their story better, and this is why I am here to help them making good things better or scaling trust for their product, right? So that's one genesis that we have, or that's our vision statement, that, hey, there are a lot of things that people are building. We are just being part of their journey and helping them doing better, or wherever we can come in and make good things better for them, let's do it. So, and we can only do it when we are happy. So that's very first and foremost principle that we follow. Similarly, there are a few others, like be in a comfortable position but out of comfort as well. So, if someone loves to write, then writing is a comfortable thing for them. They would want to do it more and more. But writing the same thing or reading the same thing books does not work. So I push a lot of people, and especially writers, young writers who start with us, they are fiction readers. So they would read a lot of fiction novels, and they would have favorite authors, so they would read everything. And then I would push them that, hey, for next 1 month, 2 months, read every day, but do not read fiction. Now start reading non-fiction. So that's out of comfort zone, right? It's not creative enough. It's not interesting enough, but that's something that you have to read. So reading is comfort, but reading non-fiction maybe not as comfortable as fiction. Similarly about writing, similarly about design. So if they are designing, they would have a very specific way, right? I mean, there would be some fonts that people would like. There would be people who would like minimalist design. So then we'll throw them to maximalist design style, that, hey, add more layers, add more colors, add more fonts, and then see what's working. There would be ways that, hey, there is this illustration that we should do. So we'll say no illustrations, add photos here and see how we can work. So we keep experimenting and keep growing with them in that way.
Awesome. So Divyank, you brought up one very important topic, which I would really like to kind of understand from you, which is to be vulnerable as a leader. And when I say to be vulnerable as a leader, where you say, okay, fine, I don't know this, or I'm not probably good enough to do this, but you know it better. How does it work? Do you think it's something that people in your team respect and kind of therefore work better?
It's a very individual thing, and the relationship that you have with your team members on individual level, and for specific things. So for certain things, they would know that this person would have those answers, or this is something that he or she is good at. So if they're coming to you for those particular things, you cannot say that, hey, this is not something that I can help you with, right? This is not something that I'm unable to do. But at the same time, it is also about the camaraderie that you have with that individual person, how long you have been working with them, how they see you, how you see them. how much you can
Hmm.
be vulnerable. So leaders that way have to be prudent about when to show your vulnerability also, because if you do it very quickly, then there will always be a fear in the other person's mind that should I go to them, otherwise they will be vulnerable and there will be no answer to it. So sometimes you have to take a call that no matter what, I am the strong pillar, and you can come to me and ask me any problem. I will solve it. And then there will be people who would know that okay, for whatever reason, it can be their own maturity. They would have seen it happening, their upbringing. That hey, nobody has all the answers, or they have worked enough with you that they can come and you can have a very honest and candid conversation that hey, I don't know the answers, but let's figure it out, or I know this person who can solve this for us. We'll solve it together, right? Or if we don't solve it, then also that's okay. So there cannot be one way that hey, I can be vulnerable or I cannot be vulnerable, because
Right.
depending on the situation, depending on the person, depending on the day and the project and all the other things, you have to take a call. Is it right time for me to take this call or not?
Okay. So when you started, you had 230 services, like you said. How many do you offer now? And what is your value proposition, or what is your strategy as an organization today?
We have 7.
Okay, so from 230 to 7, talk to us about it. What did you do? Why did you do that?
Yeah, so we figured out that people want us for specific things, and we can deliver these specific things very well. So,
Mm-hmm.
and at one point we were serving B2B, B2C, B2B, B2C, and in these B2B, B2C, B2B, and B2C, we were working with people in all different systems, right? So we were agnostic that way. So working with B2C brands, lifestyle brands, travel brands, individuals, people coming to us for personal branding on Instagram, YouTube. Then someone is saying that, hey, let's do translation. So we'll do translation in 15 languages plus 22 other global languages. So if you want me to translate in Russia, I will figure out a way and I'll do it. Next day, you will say, I want it in Mandarin, I will figure out a way and do it. Then
Hmm.
videos and other things. We realize that, hey, we don't have to do all these things. There are few
Right.
things that we have to give. People trust us for that. Uh, and then there has to be systems in place where either we can do it through other vendors or partners, we
Correct.
can take the ownership and give it to them. We need trust and we need a good relationship. Or these are not something which will help the client or my partner in any way, right? So we can say no to them. So for example,
Hmm.
there is in marketing itself, there are 2 or 3 different things that we have to do. There is
Yeah.
a company would come and say that we want to run ads on Facebook and Instagram, which is in
Mm-hmm.
marketing terms, we call it performance marketing. We pay
Correct.
money to Facebook and Google and Instagram,
Right.
Meta and other, and because of which you will get leads or awareness and everything. And then there is entire organic market, and then there are multiple other terms like influencer marketing. We realize we do not want to get into the performance marketing bit because one, we do not understand that well. We do not like to put lot of money, clients' money at stake to get visibility, right? And
Hmm.
there are certain people who are doing it amazingly well, and there
Okay.
comes a lot of understanding and expectations when you do performance marketing. So
Right.
initially we would have said that we do performance marketing, but after a
Hmm.
point we realized that it is totally a different business. We do not want to do it. So 5 or 10 things that come
Correct.
under performance marketing, we do not want to do it, and we have just shut down. We do not do performance marketing. And
Okay.
there are similarly other things. What we focus is we understand organic growth of the brand. So as I have built my brand with a long term vision, anyone who wants to scale trust, especially in B2B space, boring
Mm.
brands. Uh,
Correct.
I want to target those people and help them in building a longer communication channels and building a set tone for them, which helps in creating brand, which helps in funnel and create awareness for them, education to the customers that they are already serving and new, and then converting them on regular basis while building the credibility, trust, new opportunities, scaling up growth, and all those things. So that's something that we are doing. And then there are 4 or 5 things that we have to do in that. In social media, also, we have realized that our forte is LinkedIn. And a lot of people that we work with, they also understand LinkedIn marketing better. And there is more competition when it comes to social media in terms of Instagram and Facebook and WhatsApp and YouTube. We want to do it only for LinkedIn. So then
Okay.
the one service is only managing LinkedIn for brands and people. Similarly,
Mhm.
content marketing for your website and other, then website development and so on and so forth. So this is how we have cut down to lot of things that we were doing initially.
And any particular sector or any particular type of organizations that you work with,
we have
or you're
started our
agnostic?
journey we have started our journey with BFSI. We were fortunate to be at right place, right time with BFSI companies. And
Hmm.
then with the world moving towards fintech, we also moved towards fintech companies. So we've
Okay.
served a lot of fintech companies today in payment space and account aggregator and cross borders and everything. And now we are also focusing on B2B SaaS companies. So these
Okay.
are three most important sectors that we work with, along with, they're partial to this, which is VCs, venture capitalists, and uh, NBFCs and all, which comes under the same set of companies. So these are the companies that we generally work.
Okay. So, Divyank, what's the road ahead? What's the vision for the future?
Well, figuring it out, I think there is a lot more to learn and understand. There is this googly which is going on right now called AI,
Hmm.
and there are a lot of debates happening around artificial intelligence and how this will change the game in next couple of years and then a decade. So where are we in terms of writing and design, and how much they can pick up, and what will be the role of a marketer then, is something that we are figuring out. Um, Services and products are very different. We have been throughout our careers, we have been doing service business, but we have always been observing products, building products. So it is a lucrative thing, especially when tech is getting changed very quickly. So
Correct.
we have some kind of interest in building products also. So that's something that in the long
Hmm.
run we would want to do. And most important is we want to be part with anyone, be it individual or companies, and help them with their mission and vision. So that's very clear. Uh, we have done it in India. Now, idea is that we do it globally as well. So starting with APAC, but also the other markets, wherever content and organic growth is there, we partner with them. We work with them for creating better content.
Okay. So you mentioned AI, and I'm going to ask you one last question. Do you see AI as a threat, or do you see AI to be something that really facilitates the content creation and the media business?
It's fascinating for sure. It's like how in school we were not allowed to use calculator because we
Correct.
should know basic calculations well. But if today someone asked me to do 18 12s and I would not be able to answer, I need calculator, right? It's obvious that it is a waste of my time to just calculate it, right? So just like calculator, AI will be a good tool. Now, for a bad writer or bad, not bad is not a right word, it's a negative connotation, but someone who is not a good writer themselves, AI would, snatch everything, snatch opportunities from them. But someone who can
Mhm.
think, someone who can understand and observe the life, for them, it will be a great tool. So if I'm not good with maths, no calculator can help me in becoming better, right? I can just give answers, but I will still not be able to solve a complex problem. Similarly, AI cannot help a bad marketer or anyone who cannot have a clear imagination or thinking process. And for everyone else who can think big, can do well, this will be a great tool. This has been a great tool. People are using it incredibly well for anything and
Mhm.
everything and creating content. So you would see that differentiation much more. But yes, people who are not using it well, they will suffer a lot.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much, Divyank. It was a real pleasure talking to you. Yeah, this kind of insights that you've shared, I'm sure a lot many people are going to really tune in and benefit from the conversation today. Wishing you and Wise Idiots all the very best in the future, and hopefully a few years down the line we can have one more episode and we can talk about how those years have traversed. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much for inviting. It's a pleasure, and what you are doing, what you are building is incredible. Thank you for having me and trusting me to be part of it. I know the other folks who have already been there, they have been much more experienced and much more serious business founders and leaders. So, counting me in one of those is already a great validation point for me. So, I feel thankful and lot of gratitude towards it.
It's a pleasure, and it's always good to have diverse views. And it's really I feel fascinated working with younger generation because there's a lot to learn. And I
Yeah.
think when we have younger leaders coming in, there's a completely different perspective that comes in, and that's fascinating. Thank you so much, Divya.